This is another in the series of Owatonna as they saw it. Our videotaping date is March 31st of 1994, and the topic of discussion today is going to be downtown Owatonna, looking back as far as we can look back with the guests that we have here to talk about it. None other than, of course, Ted Ringhofer, who at present is the president of the Chamber of Commerce, has been for a lot of years, and Bill Kottke. And, of course, the name of Kottke Jewelers here in Owatonna goes back to before the 1920s, actually, and one of the oldest businesses in downtown Owatonna. So thank you guys for being with us. Appreciate having you here.
Pleasure.
We're really looking forward to this because, of course, I can remember I've been in Owatonna about over 30 years, and of course these guys well, Ted longer than that, obviously, because he was born here, but can remember back because of the tales that their dads told and so on. So we're going to kind of have some fun at this as well and talk about what Owatonna was back in the early days as such. You know, it's unfortunate that a lot of these people that we're going to talk about that we didn't do this before they left us, right. But so we're doing the best we can here and talking to the next generation as such, and going to try to reminisce a little bit. And of course, Ted's family was located on the 300 block of North Cedar, and one of really Owatonna's oldest businesses. That was the Ringhofer Meat Company. And of course, Bill, his dad, Carl Kottke, who originally was associated with John Jurgensen.
John Jurgensen. And he had worked at Jostens prior to that, and he always commented that he sold stock of Jostens stock to buy in with John Jurgensen, and that maybe he should have kept the Jostens stock. But he was with John for several years and then bought him out and was on his own. And I, of course, was born and raised here, too.
Yeah, that's right. Okay,
yeah,
I'm sorry.
I'm a native son.
Yeah, you left for a while and came back, right?
Was went off to the University of Iowa after I graduated from high school, and then ended up at Drake University. And we were in Des Moines for 11 years. And as I made the comment earlier, 30 years ago tomorrow will be when we moved back to Owatonna to go into business with my dad.
Now, was the Kottke Jewelry Store originally where it is now? Is that the original?
The original one was where the Vision Center is right now, which used to be, back in my days, used to be Block Shoe Store, and then Russell Shoe Store, now the Vision Center.
Okay.
Bob Bazowski had a sign painting business above Block Shoe Store, and he didn't have any telephone, and he used my dad's phone for his office. So they used to have to run around the corner and up the steps. Hey, Bob, you know.
You got a phone call.
You got a phone call. Sometimes it was a bill collector, I think. But
yeah, I suppose maybe it was. So when did he move then to the north?
I would say it was probably in the 20s that they moved. The store fixtures were the ones that were over there.
Okay.
And they just moved them over. That building was owned by, I think, Don Alexander, Don and Mark Alexander.
Okay. So after your dad bought John out, it was strictly a family business as such, and it was pretty much your dad. And did your mother work in the store then?
Oh yeah, she did book work and things like that with my dad. But he had several different watchmakers. You know, Roy Malm, who has Malm Jewelers, and Bob Peterson, and so they used to tell lots of stories.
Oh, I'm sure they did. Yeah.
When you reminisce way back, I can remember my dad telling about how they used to have a Saturday night club, and they used to meet in the back room of the store. Stan Muckle had made these little three-legged milk stools, and they'd all sit in the back, and they'd kind of decide who should run for office. And we've still got one of those little milk stools around someplace.
Is that right? A lot of decisions were made.
A lot of city decisions were made.
Yeah, can imagine so. Kottke's, of course, your dad put in very few vacations, I'm sure.
Right.
You know, worked the store himself, really. And was it your intent to come back?
I think sometime we always had it in the back of our mind that we would move back to Owatonna. I had worked for a wholesale company in Des Moines, and they treated me very well, and I had a good job. But when our family expanded and we had to get a new house, and we thought, hey, this would be a good time. And see how we like it. If we don't, and we're still here. We like it here.
Yeah.
Actually, we're probably the oldest store along the street, family owned, or longest in business.
Yeah. So it actually began with John, what year? 19?
John Jurgensen, I don't know when he started.
Okay. But Carl went in when?
1919.
1919. Okay.
So
the Kottke Jewelers itself, as it's known, was 19 when he bought John out.
Oh,
what, 19?
Gosh.
Early 20s, I assume.
I would say in the 20s.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay, up the block, 2 blocks in the 300 block of North Cedar was Ringhofer Meats. Of course, Ringhofer Meats was here when I came to Owatonna back in 1959, but it was there much longer than that.
It was there when I came to Owatonna, too. Matter of fact, 1896 is when the meat market started. My grandpa was in it, Charles F. Ringhofer. My dad went in it when he was in 8th grade. That he only finished 8 grades of school. Went to work there to help his dad out. That was some tough times in those years, and it was separated into 2 separate businesses. George Ringhofer had the front part, which was Ringhofer Market, and my dad and Bob Ringhofer were in the back part, which was Ringhofer Meat Service, and that was the custom slaughtering and sausage making and the locker service. And I went to work for George Ringhofer when I was in school for 25 cents an hour, and I was stocking the vegetable case and helping do up some orders for, we used to do home delivery, and Kenny Casperson was Holy Terror on Wheels, helping drive the delivery truck, and I used to go with him, and occasionally I got behind the wheel too before I was supposed to, but we did get the groceries out.
Always amazed me that they actually, in this day and age, you would never have a slaughtering facility right downtown, and in that little alley in the back where
the big cattle trucks would come in there. We had a chute that would drop down into the alley, and we'd unload them, and occasionally one didn't get inside. It'd take off through the community, and I remember one time down by the canning company, the police shot one. A steer that got away, and then we had an awful time dragging it out of that backyard down there. So
I can imagine.
But yeah, there were some testy times in that. But we slaughtered hogs on Mondays, and we'd have up to 100 hogs that we would scald back there. I'd go in at 5 o'clock in the morning, start the boiler we used to generate the steam to heat the water in the tank, and on Tuesdays we'd do beef, and we'd do up to 25 cattle there. Wednesdays we'd render lard. Thursdays we'd do chickens. Sometimes we did 2,000-3,000 chickens.
Wow.
Never did like those, and we quit on those after a while.
Oh,
but
my goodness.
I can remember the machine with the rubber fingers on it. We'd scald the chickens and then hold them on there, and that they would pick the feathers off, and you'd slit the throat and throw it in the barrel until it quit kicking, and it was that was quite an operation. But the part that I really liked was the sausage making. We made 14 different kinds of sausage, and everything. Of course, the homemade wieners were most popular, the bologna, the plain, and garlic, and we had summer sausage and Polish sausage and liver sausage and Kottke, which was Itzenitsky, and but it was fun. That was the part, and then working with the public, I really enjoyed that part. But we had, go ahead, Bill.
Didn't you have a locker service?
Yes, we did.
I mean, where people rented lockers?
Yes.
I remember
You bet.
going there with my mother.
There were like 150 lockers.
Yeah,
They're
right.
a drawer, and you paid like, I don't remember, what,
$5
$5 a year or something,
yeah.
and you had your key to your locker, and you'd come in there, and you had your frozen foods in there, and you could come in anytime we were open and get it. Some
remember
people
that.
brought in the things that they canned at home for freezing and put in there, and some would buy a half a beef or a quarter or a half a hog and would be in there. But, and then next door to us in the alley was Fate and Scram. Another grocery store down on the corner where Let's Party is now was Wrestler Brothers, and that was a general store. They had crackers in the barrel. They had shoes, they had clothing. We had a lot of fun with them, back and forth.
I can imagine, yeah.
They used to do delivering. Fate and Scram did delivering.
Before Fate and Scram was F.J. Casper.
Caspers, that's right, yeah.
Yeah.
Frank Casper, and that also had dry goods and that too, on the
We
one
had,
side where Gorman Cleaners was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rolling Star Cafe up on the corner where the Red Cross is now, and we had Selvig's Cafe across the street from us, and the original Owatonna Savings and Loan where Lifestyle was. And
Well, it wasn't Oaks Cafe?
Oaks is, yeah,
was that before
Clarence
Selvig?
and Lydia Oaks.
Right.
And then, you know, Todd, they when they left here, they bought property in Anaheim and put a motel right by Disneyland out there.
They
And
did.
we went out and visited them there, and Selvig's took over the restaurant there.
Is that
We're
right?
moving up Cedar Street where it used to be the funeral home where Bricks Furniture, and in the main store was the Piggly Wiggly store.
Yeah.
And part of Jerry's there. On
Yeah.
the corner was a Monkey Ward store.
Yep, right.
And then Pred's.
Sershan Hardware down in the other block.
Right.
Pred's, yeah.
Pred's Women's Fashions, and
Right.
Ernie Hammer bought that and was in that location, and then moved next door to where our
Yeah.
Kottke store was.
Yeah.
And then he took over S&H Appliance. Bud Stanton
Right.
had
Right.
the store between Owatonna Shoe. I was trying to remember what was on the corner. There used to be Mitchell Flower Store, where Bricks or
That was
Owatonna.
Jim Mitchell.
Jim
huh?
Mitchell, right.
Jim
Sure.
Mitchell, and then
Religious bookstore.
well, but in between that, wasn't there a Peterson floor covering or
Yes,
something?
yes.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
we had the religious bookstore with the
Right.
painting on the wall.
Oh,
Yes.
yes, on the side of the wall on,
Right.
on Vine. Yeah.
And across the street, where Hohenstein Insurance is now, was originally, it used to be a woman's, what do they call it, millinery hat shop. And then after
Dab's
that,
Hats.
yeah,
Wasn't that the name of it? Dab's Hats? wasn't
Yeah.
it?
yeah,
Dabs, yeah.
something like
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
And then, of course, the Lighthouse was in there
Yeah.
at one
Right.
time.
The one
and
that
they
burned.
burned. Radel had it first, and then the Johnsons, and
Yeah.
then they sold it to, Spindler?
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Bob, and then he moved it over at the corner, and the Gillespie's were in there.
Okay.
Front. Next door was Spurgeon's, where Gillespie's real estate is now.
Okay. I think we should tell you that if you're watching this particular session many years down the line from when it is being filmed, even some of these stores where we say is now could be changed. So
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
we should emphasize that these videotapes that we're making obviously can be seen many years down the line, and so there could even be changes from what we're doing here. Rower Drug. I remember Clint Rower
Yeah.
on the corner of Cedar and Broadway.
Right.
But wasn't Grulke downtown too? At
He
one
was
time?
around the corner.
Over on Bridge. Or
Yeah.
no, first on Broadway and then
Yeah,
Bridge.
right.
Well, and on the corner was Parrot Hardware on the corner of Vine.
Yeah, Parent Smith
Yeah.
Hardware.
And then down the street was National Oil with
Yeah, Joe's National
Joe
Oil.
Leverty.
Joe Leverty.
Yeah.
Right.
That was the only
Elmer's-
station in town with an outdoor pit.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
you'd
right.
drive over it to service.
Yeah.
Drive over the pit and get your oil change there. at
And
Joe's
across the
National
street
Oil.
from that, Hudson Garage. Can't remember the name of the people that ran it, and above it was the Elks Club, or Eagles Club. right?
Eagles Club was
Yeah.
above it.
Okay, yeah.
Well, and Francis's John Deere dealership was along there.
That's right.
It was
yes.
along there also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, just a little further down was the Arnold Hotel, which was my first home, but that was operated by Dan and Millie Long.
Right.
And they had the bus depot.
And they had the bus depot.
Greyhound and Jefferson.
Yeah, so the buses had come parading through there daily, all day long, as such, right down the alleyway there.
If I remember right, well, right next door to us, where Hammers, now St. Clair's, are, used to be Sanders Cafe. And then it became the Byron Eat Shop with Elsie Schmidt. Elsie lived in a house right behind where Ludke Real Estate was.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And then after that was Hap's Cafe, a pizza place.
I remember that, yeah.
And where the Elks Club is now was the bowling alley.
Right.
At one time.
Okay.
And we had Cashman Seed beside that. Seed and Fertilizer was also on Vine Street there.
Couple businesses that I think of that have been there as long as I can remember were the Star Cleaners. and St. Clair's across what was then across the street, and now is Schultz Real Estate. But St. Clair's was Luthold's, and they were around the corner on Broadway at one time. And of course, George's Cafe, or which is now Costas.
Was there.
Was there.
How many of you, any of you remember Sharky's?
I do.
I used to do that. Was on the
Sure.
200 block, right? That was down about where the hardware store is now, or is that, where was Sharky's Cafe?
was next door to the Owatonna People's Press. That was on the corner of
Okay.
Pearl and Cedar.
Pearl and Cedar.
Okay.
Where the pool hall is.
Yeah.
in- yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And
That was open 24 hours a day, I think, at one
Never
time.
had a key, I don't think. They
Was that-
said. Yeah,
That's what he-
yeah. I think that's what they said. They never had a key.
Sershin Hardware
Yeah.
down there, old Charlie Sershin.
Yeah, that later became Dawes, George
Right.
Dawes, right?
Right.
Hardware. Yeah.
Well, and then Steve's Cigar Store was next door to Perrott Smith Hardware
Right.
and Coast to Coast Hardware, which was
Yeah.
Louis Michaels.
That was an experience, Todd. I have to relate to you that my twin brother and I, every Sunday, it was a ritual. Every Sunday morning, we'd go down to Steve's Cigar Store, and sometimes we'd have something to eat there, but my dad always bought a cigar and a newspaper, and then from there, we'd get in the car and drive out to his farm that he had northeast of Owatonna, and Tom and I would take turns sitting in his lap and steering the car.
Really?
And that was our Sunday morning. After we went to church, then we'd go, Mother would go back home and she'd start preparing the dinner, and we'd go out to the farm to check up on that, and we got to steer the car when we were 3 years old.
Is that right, really? Oh, for gosh sakes, that's neat. Further down Cedar there from you, where the kitchen is now, what was that before?
Well, just before the kitchen is where Steele-Waseca Co-op used to be, which is McCarthy Plumbing now, and then the kitchen.
Was Johnson's Garage.
Johnson Auto, right? And
Ford garage. Or
No, Studebaker.
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 Right, yeah.
Okay.
My father-in-law had one of the first Studebakers in Owatonna.
Is that right?
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah.
that's where they started. Then across the street was Ray Johnson with the Phillips 66 gas station. Right next to that was McCrosty Welding, or blacksmith shop, right? That was another experience. Boy, it was amazing some of the things that they made, right?
Right, and repaired.
And then we had 3 lumber yards. We had Alexander Lumber, Bosford's Lumber, and Hayes Lucas Lumber, all down on that end of town. Across the street, there was another gas station, was a Standard station
For a while.
for a while, and Pickner's Garage. I remember Pickner's Garage is now
Okay.
in between where Tana Heating and Demerol Kellogg and Osterman.
That and I'm told to talk about we're on the corner of Cedar and Rose. At one time, that was a horse stable for Alexander Lumber's horses. Way back when.
Yeah, livery stable there.
The livery stable there,
Yes.
many years back. But I think that after the Studebaker, I think that later became a Ford garage, I think, didn't it?
No,
After-
the
was it the-
Ray Rowland's Ford dealership was,
down on the-
Broadway at one time.
Yeah, I remember it being down where Wangers are, down on Cedar, and then where the new bank
right.
is
right.
is proposed for Owatonna State. That was OMC, but it was Oldsmobile, Peg Olds.
Peg and Sohn.
Yep, right, Peg and Sohn Oldsmobile. Yeah,
Okay.
right.
And
that
Peg later, was that...
Deal with a pair of jacks.
That's
they
right.
They had that.
That's right.
Their calling card was jacks.
really?
Yeah, like cards,
And
yeah.
it said deal with a pair of jacks or something like that.
So it was Jack Peg and
yeah,
Jack
well,
Sohns.
Yeah.
and John Peg was...
Well,
his-
it was John.
It was John,
But
okay.
they called it to deal with a pair of jacks.
So which Peg went into Ford dealership then? Was that...
That was John.
that was John then?
Right.
Hirsch Motors were down by Mankey's, where the bread, Dolly Madison
Okay.
bread store is now. That's
right.
where they went before they moved out on 18th Street.
Yeah, okay.
Mary's Liquor Store, remember
Mary's
Mary
Liquor-
Dietrich? That was
Right around the corner where the investment place
Edward
is
D.
now.
Jones.
Edward
Yeah.
D. Jones, next to the bakery.
Central Bakery. Was there for years and years. Old Gus Nielsen At Central Bakery.
Oh,
I used
yeah,
to
now we're going down Broadway.
Broadway, I'm back,
right? We're
yeah.
down Broadway. Go ahead, because I was going to ask to go down Broadway, because Christow's Drugs was
That was on
there.
the other
That was
side.
on the other side.
And what would be the back end of the travel agency used to be Rakow and Guzzi Shoe Repair.
Yes, that's right.
And then I think was next place then Christow's.
Yeah.
I don't remember
And
too
on
much
the,
around.
on the north side of the street was Woolworths. And of course the Owatonna Hotel was in where First Bank is now.
Yeah.
And
It was
Penny's
what?
was
S&L.
S&L store.
Yeah, it was
they had a big fire there.
Yeah, that
years
was
and
a
years ago.
spectacular fire
Yeah.
as such, yeah.
On the other side of the street, Guzzi's, yeah, and then the drugstore. And let's see, where Master.
Well, the Spurgeons moved over there after they were on Cedar Street.
Yeah. Yeah.
They had a
What do
big-
you remember, guys, about the Owatonna Hotel? That was the meeting place. That was the place to go, right?
That's
Right.
where the big decisions were made.
That's right. They ran a wonderful dining room.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can remember going there, you know, like for birthdays or Easter.
Yeah.
like,
That was the place to
that
go.
was
Yeah.
the place. And they had the big rocking chairs in the front
Yes,
windows,
yeah.
you know. And I remember Fred Johnson always had a cigar.
Yeah.
And
There used to be, Todd, a lot of salesmen that would come by train. And then they'd walk up, and that's where they stayed, was at the Owatonna Hotel.
and not only that, but they would have bring their goods there, and
Display.
like my dad or somebody would come there
Buy.
to buy, rather than because they did travel by train. Also, their fire escape was a rope tied onto the radiators.
Yeah.
Because I remember when my wife first moved to Owatonna, she said that they stayed at the Hotel Owatonna for a few days before they moved into their house, and she said when she saw what was going to be a fire escape with this rope tied onto the radiator, why she wondered if she was really out here with the Indians, because
Yeah, I
they moved
can
here from
imagine.
Ohio. So,
Oh, that's amazing. Then further down, Penny's was there, of course, but that was a little later, and I'm not sure what was there before that. But
Penny's and Sears.
yeah, Penny's and Sears.
And then another gas station on the corner there, and around the corner was another gas station too, another Phillips 66.
Yeah.
Oh, right,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
the city parking lot is.
Right, yeah.
There was a pure oil station on the corner of Main and...
That's over where Little Caesars.
Yeah, where the...
Right.
And that was the year that a truck exploded down there, is that right?
Dynamite
Uh-huh.
caps. It had dynamite caps in it.
Yeah.
And Otto,
I want to say Pickner, but that wasn't
No.
it.
Otto used to have, he had a side business down there too, but he did a lot of, the kids liked Otto, you know, and then they went down there, but they did have a fire. They had a truck that was loaded with dynamite caps that somehow ignited.
Right.
Wasn't that a Sunday or?
I don't remember,
Saturday or
but
Sunday.
Roy's Hamburger Shop was across the street, and
yeah.
that was another place that seldom closed.
Yeah.
And
And-
Canode Cleaners to the north, and I remember there was a lot of damage from the fire. The whole front of the pure oil station, the canopy across at Canode Cleaners, and Benny's Liquor Store over where Erdman's
Yeah.
is now.
Yeah, there was a lot of stories about that place too, wasn't there, huh?
That's I used to go over there with our delivery truck 2 and 3 times a day picking up boxes that we would use to carry out for people with their frozen
Yeah.
meats or groceries, or we rendered lard, we ground it into wax line boxes and that. And he had just a little hole in the wall, but boy did he do the business. And Byans over on Vine, but we're kind of bouncing back and
Buying
forth.
from
But
buying.
yeah, right.
That was, well, I can remember on that truck explosion, my wife, who grew up on North Cedar and right across the street from the meats, literally there were caps that blew that far
Right.
downtown. It
There was a lot of
really something.
concern about kids picking them up, you know,
Yeah.
and hitting them with a hammer or something. So they did quite a bit of promotion or, you know, public relations.
Well, we
to get
shouldn't leave this without talking about the variety store across the street there.
Oh, right, Files.
Files
right.
Variety Store. What a legend in town. Huh?
Right, and when I think about it, the drugstore is one of the original drugstores, was Gerke Drugstore and then Waleski's, and now it's Ron Schleif.
Okay.
But the variety store, and Steve File was such a promoter for Owatonna. As a matter of fact, he talked to my dad when he first came into Owatonna, and my dad gave him a pretty good sales pitch and why he should locate here. And he was a real promoter. It's fun to hear him tell stories of when they threw the guinea hens off of the top of the building, and they had really a crowd of people. I mean, I've seen pictures in the
Thousands.
thousands, and it broke some of the store windows because people were
Trying to catch the guinea hens.
But Steve File, yeah, he had, and his business card had a file.
Right.
Yep,
I mean,
yeah.
it wasn't spelled the same, but it had a file.
PFEIL.
Yeah.
But, and then the sign across the building was file.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
think he was-
then after it was files, it was what, Bina's variety, and then C. Oliver Johnson had it as a
Ben Franklin then.
Ben Franklin store for quite a few years,
Yeah.
and then Gilner clothing
Yeah.
store.
I think Steve File was one of the first one with the S&H green stamps.
Yeah,
And then he went on the road selling for them, if I remember right.
and my dad used to give S&H green stamps, and he. And then we thought we were modernized when we had this little machine that cranked them out, and he'd crank out those S&H green stamps.
Yeah, and as I recall, talking about Steve File, of course, he was the first Chamber of Commerce president.
1946, right? Yeah.
It was the first president of the Chamber of
Yeah,
Commerce.
there was a forerunner to the chamber. It was a Owatonna Businessmen's Club, but he was the first president of the Owatonna Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, yeah. Boy, what fun to reminisce. And it brought, your dad came here in 19, what?
Oh, no, he was born and raised here.
He was born and raised in Owatonna.
Right.
Okay.
Lived down on Walnut Street. His father was a carpenter. And like Ted's father, why my dad went through, I think, the 6th or 7th grade. And then did odd jobs, worked over at the Emporium, which was Hoodelick Furniture, and went to work at Jostens, and I imagine he was just a teenager. But he did travel on the road for him when he was early 20s. Then
Okay.
he worked for Bosch and Lomb during the First World War.
Is that right?
So,
Well, what a bit of history, that is for sure. It's fun to sit and talk about and you have to, I guess, kind of visualize them in your mind. And for those of you watching this that don't remember those days or weren't even around in those days, downtown Owatonna was a little different than it is today, wasn't it? It was a family. It was
right,
Sure,
a
it really
lot
was,
less
yeah.
hectic. People took time to visit. I can remember even when I was first came back to Owatonna from Des Moines, how businessmen would just come in the store to visit.
Yeah.
And downtown, the upper levels, a lot of them are doctors' offices, doctors and dentists,
Dentists and
optometrists.
optometrists.
So we had a dentist's office above our store, and a lot of these fellows would reminisce the days goings on.
Yeah.
My first dentist was Dr. Schroeder across the street upstairs, and the first doctor I went to was Dr. Stronsky, which was around the corner on the third floor of the
Yeah.
Vesterby building, I believe. And KRFO was up there at
Yeah,
one time,
yeah,
and only
that's
it was KOBK.
That's right.
Right.
That's right, yeah.
That's right.
And then, of course, they were in the Clemmer building.
Yeah.
when
And
I
we
was
didn't
in
mention it, should I?
Yeah.
Better not. My father-in-law,
Boy.
George A. Clemmer and Son, was right on the corner.
the
of
Oliver
course,
dealership.
and the Oliver
Oliver.
dealer. And
That's
the
right.
Virtue and Pound was across the street.
Where
which
the
was,
bank is.
Where the bank
Yeah.
is, and that's...
Oh, there's so we've missed so
we
many.
missed so
that
many.
it's,
Yeah, so sometime we should just get a map. Or
Salads,
Yeah.
the
Oh, yeah. Forgot about Salads. Department store.
Salads department
Yeah.
store.
Kelly
down.
Company.
The Kelly
Kelly,
Company.
yeah, that was several
Yeah.
departments over there.
And they
Franklin
had a
Johnson.
grocery store.
Here,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Probably did some injustice to those we forgot, but at least we were able to run some names by, and it's been fun. Owatonna as they saw it, and as they remember it, and as their dads and mothers remember it too, because they were pioneers in the business scene here in Owatonna. Hope you've enjoyed.